I had all these vision boards. I had 3 personal ones, so dream goals and all this different stuff. And then I had 3 music related ones. And then on my door, I had a list of things that I would lose if I go out and get high. So every time, like, it was a little studio. So every time I open that door or when I'm sitting on my bed, no matter what, I could see all these goals. I'm surrounded by ideas and vision boards. And on this door, it would have a list of names or things that I would lose if I went out there and got high. So even if I was opening and just looked at the door for a second or didn't even look at it, you still catch a name out your peripheral. Those are things that were always on my mind anytime I left. It was just I need structure. I need goals. I need things that I'm working towards. And my first year was just building a life that I refused to give up.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Henry's Uncle podcast. Today we have the privilege of speaking with Skyler Ray. Skyler grew up in foster homes, suffered from addiction, homelessness, and was also arrested and jailed multiple times. He has been sober for over 3 years now and charting his own path in the hip-hop community by creating music based off his experiences. Take a listen. Welcome back to the Henry's Uncle podcast. I'm really excited. I got Skyler Ray on our podcast today. Lately it's been a lot of social media, through Instagram and stuff, and seeing people's stories and how they portray themselves and seeing a lot of recovery, which is awesome to see. And I saw Skyler on there, and what also interests me, not just besides your recovery, is you're from Portland, which I am too. So it's always nice to meet someone who's a fellow Portlander. So, Skyler, go ahead and introduce yourself, and we can get into your story.
My name is Skyler Ray. I'm an artist in recovery, long-term recovery. I spent a bit of my life, growing up, whether it's foster homes, homelessness, spent a lot of my life going through addiction, active addiction. And then on top of that, I spent about 5 years incarcerated. But most importantly, I'm a music artist. Music really resonates with my soul. I've been doing music since 11 years old. My clean date is December 6, 2018.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And it's just, me and my lady are both fully independent, no labels, no managers, no PR. We do all the hard work ourselves, and we managed to make a great living off it, and rack up millions of plays, and just been traveling the country like crazy. So it's been a blessing. I owe it all to recovery.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. You mentioned December 6th, 2018. So my brother passed December 9th, 2018. So 3 days. So that was another thing that kind of hit me. I was like, wow, here's one person who just got into recovery in your whole life story, which we'll get into here shortly. But then 3 days later, man, just addiction. And, he passed from a fentanyl poisoning. Thought he was taking out a 5 milligram oxy, but got a hold of a fake pill. So, so you mentioned foster home and stuff. And what I like to start with all my guests is kind of just go through your childhood, because I feel like a lot of it, when talking to people, there's so much that comes out of childhood and into our adult lives and into trauma, et cetera. So if you don't mind, start there.
Yeah. Growing up, it was me, my brother, my dad, and my mom. They did the best they could, but situations arise. And, I went to foster home about, I think, 9 years old, and I tend to move around in foster homes a lot. Me and my brother got separated. And then, in school, it caused me to act out a lot. I was always trying to be class clown and seek attention, but that stemmed way before the foster homes, I think. And, a lot of it is seeking validation. I was the point of being a class clown to the point I was annoying. And then when somebody would say something or call me out for being annoying, then I'd want to fight and be a bully and things like that. So a lot of it comes to that. And then, about 14, I moved back in with my pops. And then
do you mind if I ask, what was the reason to go into foster care?
My mom. Okay. My mom and dad separated.
Okay.
And then it just happened from there.
Do you mind kind of going into foster care and what that like? Because we always, we've seen movies and we hear about it, but it's always nice to hear from someone who's actually been through that kind of system.
For sure. There was some really good foster homes, and there was some that weren't the best. I tend to move around a lot. I think the most solid home I lived in was maybe about a year. And then after that, I was kind of moving like crazy because a lot of them were like temporary homes. Because I remember when they dropped us, when we first went to foster care, the cops came and grabbed us and they separated me and my brother. We went to different foster homes right off the bat.
Why was that?
I don't know. I think it was kind of, they just didn't have a place for 2 people at the time.
Okay.
And so I went to this other foster home for like a month. and then I moved in with my place with my brother, and then I was getting in trouble there, and kids were being kids, and I ended up getting moved out. But from there, I moved around quite a bit, and then there was another solid one. Her name was Cindy Lynn. Shout out to Cindy. She was very nice, very kind, loving. She was a school teacher where I went, and she heard about my situation, decided to take me in. Very kind soul, loving person. And then she kind of retired and got out of it. So then I moved somewhere else after about 6 months. But yeah, I moved around quite a bit. I remember one of the places was even like a little orphanage in Vancouver, and they'd have like the staff come in and out and stuff like that. And it was different. It wasn't like your foster home, typical foster homes. I would say mostly, a lot of them have good intentions, but you could tell they're definitely somewhere for the money. There was one foster home where they had a bunch of kids, and they were purposely like getting them like on like ADHD medicine and all this different stuff and trying to get them diagnosed, because you get paid more if the kid that you're fostering is on medication, because they're more of a problem child or anything like that. So it goes up significantly per month that you have that child. And so they would have like 8 kids and get them all on medication. And so there's some good and there's some bad.
That's crazy. That's man, that's tough. I just can't even imagine, one, what you're going through with your parents, and then going into foster care, which is, so new to you, and then also being separated from your brother. That's nuts. So after, so foster care, how long were you in foster care for?
9 to like 14.
Okay. So 5 years.
Yeah.
So 5 years. So you get out around 14. So what happens after that?
I move in with my dad. I lived off of 187th and Yam Hill. So right over by the little, the Par Lumber and the Dutch Brothers, all right off there at Burnside when you go down there at the end. And what happened was my favorite, I'm very hard headed, and, I like to seek trouble or problems when I feel like people don't like me. And so I grew up, my favorite color is red. At the time, this is early 2000s. So that whole area over there was nothing but Southsiders. And so their favorite color is blue. I never gangbanged, never been a part of it, none of that. But my favorite color was red. And so when the whole block is nothing but, Southsiders and gang members, I would always get in fights. They would always try to jump me at school, different things like that. And I hung out with, so it was all nothing but Hispanics. And at the time, and I hung out with my 2 best friends, and they were both black people. So they were always beefing, the blacks and the Mexicans were always beefing. And so me hanging out with them, and they were actually like gang members, and their favorite color was red. So they were Bloods. And I just hung out with them because they were my actual friends, and would make music, And so like everywhere I went, I would always get in trouble and always get into fights, like in that area. Like I couldn't walk to 188 Max Station. I couldn't go to the 7-Eleven. I couldn't without a fight. And so it's kind of stemmed from that, a lot of it. But then eventually, that was mostly like my 17 or 14 through about 17 and a half. And then I kept getting expelled from schools. I went to like Reynolds, RLA, Reynolds Learning Academy, North Star, which is David Douglas's alternative school. So I kind of shifted around a bunch from there.
And was that just mostly stemming from, like you mentioned, attention, fighting, things like that?
Yeah. Yep. A lot of it. If people weren't starting fights with me, I was starting fights with other people. So I'm not proud of it. I learned a lot from how to treat people, because I've had time to reflect on situations that doesn't feel good caused by my actions. I was a bit of a bully. And so, it's like looking back at it, it's I definitely feel bad. But like I said, it's taught me how to treat people. I go into situations different. I try to be nice to everybody and things like that. So in a way, like I feel bad for all the things I've done, but I don't know if I would change anything because it's molded me to who I am today.
Sure. That makes total sense. And also, you being able to recognize that, right, and feel bad. That's wonderful. That's that's what I love about people in recovery. Being able to do that. So there, you mentioned around 15, 16, 17. So at this time, are you doing drugs, alcohol, or
drinking, smoking? I started off smoking when I was like 5th grade. Weed, not consistently, but that was the first time I did it. About 7th and 8th grade, started drinking a little bit. By like 9th grade, smoking, drinking, trying things here and there. I was familiar or comfortable with meth. So like when I turned I was homeless at 18. It kind of just came full circle and came back to it.
When you say familiar, comfortable with meth, what does that mean?
Just tried it before. It wasn't foreign to me.
Okay.
It wasn't foreign to me, and so when someone's like, "You want to try it?" I was like, sure, why not? I'm sleeping on the sidewalks of downtown Portland, and being homeless and all that. It just seemed to make sense. It was way easier. I was like, I might as well be up, so I figured out where I got to sleep at. you know. So I spent 18 to probably about 25 homeless, sleeping on the side of the streets. I was that guy on the sidewalks shooting dope in the doorways, and I found myself getting in trouble a lot. I spent about 5 years incarcerated, but a lot of it stems from seeking. I found my self worth by the acceptance of others, and so that I think that caused me in a lot of trouble. Like when I was out there using and stuff like that, what it would do is I started selling. I became addicted to hustling and getting money more than actually using the drug. Don't get me wrong, I was definitely an addict and I needed my drugs and I was always high, and my life went downhill because of it. But I had a bigger addiction to selling dope and getting money. And what that did was the power that came with it, I quickly became addicted to that. The fact that it played off, trauma or anything like that. The fact that I always seeked validation. And then when I sold dope, I became the most important person. And no matter where I went, everybody needed me. Everybody, even if they didn't like me, they would kiss my butt. You know what I'm saying? Or try to make me feel important. I would get anything they had. That power right there, made me feel important. And so that's something that I always did. And I just dove so deep into it, and I paid the consequences for it.
So at what age do you think you could, when you look back, at what age do you think your life started, shifting and going downhill?
I would say probably about 18. Probably about 18.
18. And so this is kind of through the whole high school process. And then just after that, it was just, nowhere to go.
Yeah, I found myself homeless. The situation turned out, I love my family. They do the best they can, but financial isn't always there, So with that being said, my dad and my uncle were moving into a new place with my other uncle and didn't have really room for me. And I was 18 at the time. And I couldn't carry my own weight, so it didn't make sense I would get a spot, So at that age, I ended up being homeless and I had nowhere to go, and it's okay. I honestly so happy that I went through what I went through. I don't regret anything. The fact that I could come out on the other end of the tunnel with a positive outlook on life, I think it has made me stronger. On top of that, I never look back and think, poor me. I never think, oh, I'm damaged or I've been through this or that was rough. Even during my darkest times, I always stayed happy. I always stayed positive. It didn't matter if I was locked up. It didn't matter if I was sleeping in the doorways. I always stayed happy. I found ways to make myself happy, And with that being said, going through everything, the fact that I'm able to use my life lessons and teach and give back and put it in my music and possibly be able to help someone else who's going through the situation, I think is 100% worth it. I would go through my life again and live through it 5 more times without changing a single thing, just to come out on this end and be able to help people.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting, because so many times, especially what we see now in Portland, and across the West Coast with this homelessness crisis, many people ask, and there's so many varying ways it happens, but how do people end up homeless, right? And like you mentioned, so it was just a matter of financials, and there was no room for you at your uncle's house, it sounds like. And like you mentioned, you weren't carrying your weight. So tell us, you're there, what are your next steps when you're 18 and you realize, you don't have a home to go to?
I became fascinated with the lifestyle. I loved it. I didn't want to give it up.
Oh, really?
I didn't want to give it up. I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. It was like, once I really got, like I said, I loved it. I felt like I was at home for once. The first time that I ever felt comfortable in my own skin, really like that.
Interesting.
I loved it. I had no responsibilities. I had money. I had drugs. I had free range to do whatever I want. Yes, I got incarcerated. Yes, I'd get locked up. Yes, all that stuff would suck. Yes. But it was so worth it. And every time, at the time, I thought it was worth it. And every time I go to jail, I was like, oh, I can't wait when I get out. Went right back to it. There was times I would do 6 months, get out for 3 days, do 9 months, get out for 6 days, do another 6 months. And that's real, chunks of period. That really happened. Like the 6 months, 3 days, 9 months, 3 days, 6 months.
So you were in and out all the time.
There was times I'd get out on a Friday and not even make it the weekend.
Because of selling dope? Selling dope.
A lot of times they would catch me and it would be like possession or just whatever, or a warrant because I wouldn't check in. So a lot of times I would stay in the same block radius. I would stay on not the Greyhound side of Burnside, but the other side. And, all the way up from NAFI, New Avenues for Youth, Oak and 11th, all the way to Oak and 7th, all the way down to like kind of like Pioneer Square. Sometimes you go up to like up over at Ash and then down by Skidmore Fountain, waterfront. So that I would stay in the same like 10-block radius. And then they used to have a park called Paranoia Park. It was called O'Brien Park, but we called it Paranoia Park because there's a police station right up there, right? I've probably been arrested in that 3-block radius probably like 10 times.
Really?
I would get out and always go back to the same block. I thought for a few days and the cops would pull up, Mr. Davis. I'm like, here I am.
They just knew your face by then.
Yeah. But I loved the lifestyle at the time because, like I said, it was so empowering in its own way. I felt like a king out there. I was good at my craft and everybody like worshiped me because they needed me.
Did you become friends with anybody else who was homeless at the time, or was it just kind of you?
No, I know a lot of people. I would say at the time they were friends, and there's some people I'm still friends with. But I did notice that, looking back at it, a lot of them were just acquaintances. And a lot of times I always had walls up. I never let too many people get too close to me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So it's kind of like I just kind of moved on and kind of just did my own thing. I always stayed by myself a lot of times, even though like I'd be like pull up and there'd be groups or hang out this and this. I'd kind of get in, get out because I was always paranoid.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've never heard someone, explain homelessness like this. Like this is a first. Is this just kind of your thinking, or was this kind of people on the streets? Was this, was this a general feeling? Was it?
I think
really.
I think so. A lot of people that I talked to loved it. We're obviously happy we're on this side, because sobriety is way better, and you know what I'm saying. But in the moment, yeah, that was amazing, and like. Everybody talked about it, like how great it was. Like, I think there was something to it, the lawlessness of it. You literally run around and do everything anytime you want. You get high. There's no responsibilities. You live each day. It was very adventurous. Looking back, like I said, I don't regret it. And I had a lot of fun. But obviously, I know it's better on this side. So if anybody's listening, no way glorifying it. No way nothing. Obviously, I was in my active addiction, and it was something that, I enjoyed at the time. But, I'm very blessed for my sobriety, everything like that. So if you're listening, stay sober, get sober. We love you.
Right. No, I know. I understand what you're saying. You're talking about when you're in the moment, in active addiction, what's going on. And there's so many, I got to imagine, in those 3 years now that you've been sober, which I want to get to in a minute, you've been able to reflect and peel back a lot of layers of why you went through that and why you felt like that. Because, again, like you mentioned, I don't want to give anybody a bad name or whatever. It's what you were feeling in the moment during your active addiction. So,
and I think that's why I stayed down there. I didn't want to get out. There was a time period that I never wanted my life to change. I was happy and I was like, this is it. I never wanted to like start a family, never wanted, you know what I'm saying? During that time period, I always wanted a family before, but when I was in there, I was like, man, this is it. Like, I love this. Like, I this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. As I'm sleeping in a doorway, homelessness, like, and I remember having a conversation with a bunch of people in a group and they're like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is the life. And we're all getting locked up left and right doing this. People are dying left and right. And we loved it. I think that's the chaos in the addict mind.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. I always forget about that, because people have mentioned that a lot. I'm a normie, so I don't, that's the thing, like with a lot of us, and this is why I love talking to people who've been through this, is because we can't relate. And I want to be able to tell these stories of, what, like you mentioned, like here you are sleeping in a doorway where majority of people can't relate to, wow, like, when you say this is the life I want, many people can't relate to that. Right.
It's wild.
Yeah. And so that's, again, I love the stories because it's, you're able to tell what's going through your mind, and many people don't understand the mind of a person going through addiction because there is a lot of chaos, right? And it's not, it's not normal. Many people want to say it's just, it's simple. Don't do drugs or this or that. Right. And here you are, right. You grew up, parents split, you went to foster home for 5 years. Your brother and you were separated, and, I can't relate to that. That's a lot of, that's, for me, if I went through that, that would be a lot of trauma. That's a lot of stuff to unravel. And we know our mental health, system around here in this country isn't worth anything. So
I think a lot of it is I think I'm so good at a lot of times putting on a mask. I don't think I ever, I slowly start to process things. But like you said, like the trauma and stuff, I think I was so good at hiding my emotions, I didn't even know I was going through it. Like I said, I always stayed happy. And I think that was a defensive mechanism. I always displayed happiness, and to the point that I truly felt happiness. I think I tricked myself.
Yeah, that did catch me. That was interesting when you said, like, at the very kind of earlier when you said, like, when you're homeless, you're always happy, always
Always,
positive.
always. And I think I trick myself a lot of times because, music, that's why another thing I love music so much is because it's one of the few times that I could actually process my emotions.
Sure.
I cannot really process emotions too much, but when I throw on music, I cry all the time. I cry to music. It could be like happy music. It don't matter what it is. I become so overwhelmed with emotion that I'm always crying to music. Like and that's why a lot of times, like my contact with my music, it's my therapy.
Yeah.
I'm able to express feelings with it, and I think that's my my language is music.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. That relates a lot to me. Growing up, I always loved music, rock music, anything like that, especially anything with a guitar. And funny enough, there was a song that came on. It's been out for, what are we in 2022 now? It's been out for 12 years, but I just heard it for the first time just a few months ago. Hallelujah by Ryan Bingham, a country star, and that song and the way he was wording it, it just hit me, like, because I started envisioning, my brother going through addiction and then dying. But then, always in the song, it's more about like, wanting to be back here on earth. Right. And so it's just this, and I can just replay it nonstop without it, ever getting old. It just, music does that to you.
It's a drug.
Kind of catches you.
Drug.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. So we go back to, I kind of want to fast forward now into 2018, so how did you become sober?
Well, I'm 31 now. At 23, I got sober for the first time for like almost a year. And then I started drinking, the first time I got clean and sober, it wasn't for me. So I did it for the girl I was dating. So when I broke up, I went back downhill. But I learned a lot of valuable tools. I learned how to be successful in the community. I learned how to, identify, what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, how to process emotions. I learned, I got me a sales job. I moved up real fast, like the manager. I was running an office and managing like tons of people, and I learned a lot of skills, and I got that confidence that I was able to do it. And I started appreciating the sober life. After about almost shy of a year, I started drinking, and so but then I pretended I was still sober for a few years. My people at work know I drank, but there was like people I was ashamed to like let people know. Like in the recovery community or different thing. I wasn't truly involved in the recovery community, but there's people I knew. And like, oh, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good. Just because I was embarrassed and ashamed. But then when the relationship went downhill, I went back out because I didn't get clean for myself. And, I got back into selling. I got back into using. I found myself getting locked up. I found myself going to prison. And with that, in there, I did a lot of time of reflecting. Me going to prison saved my life. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I got a lot of time to reflect. I didn't hang out with crowds in there. I kept to myself. I had my TV. I had my radio. And I would always be out like running laps, walking this. But I had a lot of time to think. And I remember a very distinctive conversation I had with myself. All the times, one thing that has always been a burning passion of mine has been music. I've been doing music since 11 years old. And that's always been my love is music. And there was a time, every time I'd be locked up when I was in jail, when in my younger years, I would say, hey, I was like, oh, I'm going to get high, da, da, da. But I was like, when I get out, I'm going to do music. Like, I'm going to focus, and I remember these conversations, and I was always lying to myself because I never did. I go out and I'm right downtown. You get out of the county jail. I'm right downtown. I'm high within 20 minutes and back to me, but this last time in prison, I had a conversation with myself. And I found myself talking to myself like I used to. Well, when I get out, I'm going to do my music. I'm going to do this. And I stopped and I realized I'm having the conversation in my head. I'm not talking to nobody, so no one could hear me. No one even knows this conversation is going on.
Yeah.
So why am I lying when it's just me? Who am I trying to impress? If no one can hear me, who am I trying to impress? It's not like I'm telling you like, oh yeah, bro, I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill it. Like, no one can hear me. So why am I lying to myself? And I remember that conversation, looking back and reflecting on it, was such a strong piece of my decision to really buckle down and give it my all. Because I remember sitting there talking and I was like, yo, like I'm lying to myself. Like, why? Like, if I'm really going to do this, I need to do this. And then I started reflecting on how much music means to me. And I thought, well, of course, I'm always going to want to get high as an addict. I loved it. I loved it. But here's the thing, the drugs and the dope game will always be there for me. It don't matter if I'm 60, 70, that game will be right there welcoming me with open arms. Just the same as everybody, that's not going nowhere. But I don't want to grow old and regret never giving my music an honest effort. I mean, 100%, not halving it, slacking. I'm talking all in. I'm talking clean and sober, protecting my mind, going all for it, making the right investments, being able to be mentally not impaired, to be able to, give it all I got. I'm tired of, slacking. I'm tired of like, oh, I'm going to do this and, drinking and smoking and like hanging out. Like, no. I'm really going to go all for it, And so I told myself that like, this is it. Like, you deserve it. Give it an honest try. I don't want to grow old thinking, what if? What would have been? I would rather say there's going to be two options. If I give it my all, there's going to be two options. One, I'm going to grow old and say, damn, I did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's amazing. Like, wow. Like, I really went out there and did it. Or there's two that's going to say, you know what? I may have failed. God damn it. I had fun and I gave it my best effort. There's never going to be that regret. 'Cause, I gave it and it just didn't work. I don't want to think, oh, what could have been, or oh yeah, back in my day, like I could have. No. Why didn't you go for it? So this is me going for it. When I got out of prison, so I didn't use the whole entire time in prison. I remember every single morning getting up, going pee, walking across. I was in dorms, and I remember walking across the dorm, going pee, and I remember looking at the tile every single morning, and I couldn't help but count the days. You're not supposed to count days when you're in there. But I always counted days. 432. Next day, 431. I'm like, damn, like, this is crazy.
A long time.
It's a long time. And so it's like, but the main thing was prison was easy for me. But one thing I realized is how much time I wasted, how much life I wasted. Every single day I thought about getting out and living my dreams. And that's why I said prison was the best for me, because I've had time to reflect, realize who I am, and learn about myself. And not only that, but I realized how precious life was. There was nothing like sitting there for a few years and you literally don't get to go until they say your time is up. So it was like I had good time. And that's why, like, another thing is I worked outside work crew. I had gate clearance since it was my first time in prison, and I had a nonviolent crime, no person to person. It was just drug related charges, And so they let me get outside work crew, and I had gate clearance, we'd go pick up the highways and things like that. And there was a lot of times people were getting high, and not once did I get high. Not once did I ever drink liquor when they found the liquor.
I was going to ask you about that. Was there a temptation while you're in prison?
No, not for me. Not for me. For the simple fact is I didn't want to get in trouble. I knew the risk. I knew how much it sucked every single day to get through that. And then I knew if I got in trouble, I'd get my good time taken away, which was 6 months. I was not willing to do an extra 6 months for a high. No.
It's a lot more days to count.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it took forever for months to pass. So what do I look like getting high or feeling a temporary feeling for 6 more months? That was the most craziest thing to me. And I know people that got away with it. I know people that didn't get away with it. And all I could think was, I know I did the right thing. So I didn't get high or drink at all in prison. I did get high in county, but that was before my sentence, it was given to me. But when I got out, I was living in a clean and sober home right off of 2nd and Burnside, right up top, right by the rescue mission. And what it was I remember it was December 5th. I got out of prison November 30th, 2018. So I've been out for almost a week. Me and my buddy, we went to go have a drink. Well, I went to go pick up a book. There was somebody that held, when I went to county, I was in county with him. I wrote a couple albums. He got out. I couldn't take it with me, so he took it with him since I couldn't take it to prison to transition. So I went to go meet up with him, and I had a drink. I had the AMF. Those were my favorite.
Yeah.
I had one, and I remember one drink, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, you start to get the warm, fuzzy feeling. I haven't been under the influence for almost 2 years, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I go to hop on the train, the Max home, freshly out of prison, go to hop on the Max home. And the first thing I think was, man, I hope they don't catch me when I come in. I could lose my housing over this. And I'm like, I hope they don't UA me. I hope no one's at the desk. I got my key already. I hope I just walk right up the stairs. And I started going through a plan of what I'm going to do or how I can sneak past. And then I paused and I was like, obviously I'm doing something wrong. if my actions are and I had a real like thought. I was like, look, I'm already messing up. Like I haven't even been out a week. Like it may start with this, and then where else is it gonna go? And if I gotta hide the fact that I'm under the influence when they gave me a place to live, my own room, like that's not okay, you know. And so that was the last day I've ever been under the influence. So it's like because I took that conversation in prison so seriously, and then when I made that mistake, I was like, yo, check it out. We messed it up already.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was it.
Oh, you know, so Second and Burnside. What was the place called you were staying at? Do you remember?
Not the Estates. Not the Estates. Hold on a second. I'll find it right now. Hold on.
Was there a Starbucks like near there, like right on the corner?
There kind of is. Yeah. But it's literally on Second and Burnside, right by the rescue mission.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I can't believe I can't even remember the name right now.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, it's yeah, it doesn't show up.
Okay. No. I asked because I got a buddy who works down there, so I just wanted to know if there was a men's recovery center. I don't know if it was that.
I think they have that over on like Third because they got like the one on Third.
Okay.
They got Voodoo Donuts and they got Dante's and then they got the recovery center. But this was a few blocks back this way.
Got it. Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yep. On Second and Burnside.
On Third and Cooch, right there. But it wasn't the Estates. I'm trying to think of. Yeah. But anyways, that's where people go when they get out of prison. Is that place right there?
Sure. Okay. Got it. So they give you a place to stay. Is this rent free at the time? Since I would assume so. Yeah. Okay.
Everything's they give you your own place, shared bathrooms, but you get your own place. You have a fridge.
And the condition is as long as you stay sober, you get this place.
You get 6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
Transitional housing.
Yep.
Okay.
And you stay sober and you get the place and so it was just like it was stupid to me. Like I thought like already a week, like what is going down?
If you had to take a guess, how many people, because what people don't understand is the relapse rate, especially coming out of prison and stuff. How many people do you think made those 6 months?
Maybe like 15%, 20%.
Wow.
If even that. The turnover rate sometimes would be like a couple days, a week on average. Like people go in and go out and they use it because it's a place. And a lot of times, I did.
Second and Burnside isn't the best place to have that kind of.
No. I slept on that bridge all the time, slept underneath that bridge.
Yeah.
Used to always sell in the doorways and,
Yeah.
That was my area.
It's got to be a lot of temptation right there.
There is a lot of temptation right there, and that's the way it is for a lot of people. And the housing situation is you could use it as an address to get out. And if you don't have like, if you have any like good time or like I did a program. So I did 6 months treatment inside before I ended. And then you do 6 months on the outside. But if you're doing that program and have an address to get out to, then you get a chance to, 3 months inside and 3 months outside. So you get a chance to serve your last 3 months prison sentence on the outside. So that's what I did because I stayed out of trouble and I did everything. So I was still technically a prisoner of the state when I got out, and a lot of people take that as an easy out or take this and use that as an address because they give housing. Like I didn't have no other address. So everybody else uses that. And then a lot of people, their intentions are their heart's not all the way in it. Everybody's like, oh, I get out 3 months early. I'll go there.
Was there any, medical assistance, any, therapy at this place, or was it just basically housing?
They offer classes.
Okay.
I had a job right when I got out. I went back to my regular job that I had before when I went a couple years, doing the sales and stuff like that. So they let me just go straight to it.
Got it. Okay. That's
but
cool.
they do have classes and stuff like that. And if you complete a lot of those classes, they will extend that 6 months and move you to another building, a couple buildings down, and give you more free rent.
Okay. So, take us through that first year of when you got out of prison, and you're in sober housing, that first year, what does that look like for you?
A lot of grinding, a lot of hustling. What it looks like is, I got out, I went back to my regular job, really got into it with music, started slowly building up my own studio. Of course, I started with, a recording program on my phone, getting back into it and editing and mixing and stuff like that. And then I started out with my merch. I met my lady. She's way more talented than I am. This is the talent right here. But it looks like just me staying clean. Honestly, I don't really work much of the program, to be honest with you. And I never BS anybody. I don't hit a lot of recovery meetings. Honestly, I feel really awkward in the recovery meetings. And a lot of times it was forced on me. from POs and stuff like that. So I'm not a big meeting person. Although if you're in recovery or new to recovery, I highly recommend it. You should do meetings. I think it saved a lot of people's life. My recovery is not the typical recovery, and I don't suggest my recovery. Like I said, music's my recovery.
Yeah. So you have that passion.
And that's it. Is the passion. But I spent a lot of my time, man. Just we did first year. I think we took a trip out to Miami. We took a couple other trips, different places, doing shows, shooting music videos, kind of getting into it. I started off my merch brand. Started off with a box of 100 T-shirts, and just flipped that. I treated that like it was dope. Started doing that, then you're reading up on more product and getting this and flipping that. So a lot of it was just grinding and getting used to it. I'm very much if I'm not doing like a show or not doing like a music video, I'm very much a recluse. I don't get enjoyment going to hang out with friends. I feel like I wasted so much of my life that a lot of times, and it's nothing personal with anybody, but a lot of times I just don't see the point of going to hang out with people. And I'm like, oh, how's your day? Oh, how have you been? Oh, that's cool. I've been doing this. Like, I already know what I'm doing, and it's nothing personal, but it's like I feel like a lot of life has been wasted. And I just don't get really too much enjoyment out of it. When I'm hanging out with people, I always feel stressed that I'm supposed to be working. I always feel stressed that I'm supposed to be doing this, and I can't really be present in the moment. I can't really focus. I could be having a conversation, and I'm thinking about the 20 things I got to do this, and I'm going down different situations, and I'm just moving and grinding in my head. So
Yeah.
it makes it really. When people want to hang out, and I have some really good friends, and a lot of times, like, I don't even want to hang out with them. Like, I want to be at home, and it's like hanging out with my lady, or making music, or figuring something. Because I'm like, bro, social media, sales, doing this, doing that. It's always a full-time movement, and I think a lot of this, my first year out, was just keeping to myself. A lot of times was building a life I didn't want to give up. I'll tell you one thing I did, though, when I got out of prison, and I still got them. I got some hanging up on the door over there. I have vision boards, and I have long-term dream goals. Some of my dream goals is like perform halftime at a Super Bowl show, double XL freshman, DJ Khaled track, Eminem feature, go platinum, #1 Billboard. I have a big, went to the dollar store and grabbed these whiteboard sheets that are two for $1. And I grabbed a bunch of them, and I have them up all over my walls, each like different rooms. I have dream goals. Like I said, I just read you some dream goals, current dream goals. And then you break that down into long-term goals, things you could do in the next few years. And then you break that down to small-term goals, like things I can do today. Obviously, to go platinum, I gotta make an album and get it out, distribute it, and sell it, and things like that. But before that, what are things I can do today, right? People get overwhelmed with this, oh, I gotta do this, and that. Like, how does that start? Well, it could be originally, okay, I'm gonna pick out one beat today. I'm gonna write me a hook. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that you can do at this moment right now. I can literally pop on right now and grab a beat. So these are, people get so caught up in that. And when I first got out, I'm very much about goals. Goals help me get through things. I'm very competitive. I'm very much like, I want to knock off this goal, that goal, this goal. And what it is like, I had all these vision boards. I had 3 personal ones, so dream goals and all this different stuff. And then I had 3 music related ones. And then on my door, I had a list of things that I would lose if I go out and get high. So every time, like, it was a little studio, so every time I open that door, or when I'm sitting on my bed, no matter what, I could see all these goals. I'm surrounded by ideas and vision boards. And on this door, it would have a list of names or things that I would lose if I went out there and got high. So even if I was opening and just looked at the door for a second, or didn't even look at it, you still catch a name out your peripheral. Those are things that were always on my mind anytime I left. It was just I'm very much, I need structure, I need goals, I need things that I'm working towards. And my first year was just building a life that I refused to give up.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. It's really interesting because talking to people. I think this is like our 43rd or 44th podcast, and the majority of them have been people in recovery, and every single person is different, which is amazing. Because recovery, just everyone recovers differently, and that's totally fine. And in your way, might resonate with hundreds and hundreds of people, right? Where it's just, this is how their mind works. Doing something, going by a dollar whiteboards and just putting up vision goals, having the goals and break. That was great advice, because so many people do. They always want to be at the end, right? And you have to break it down by year, by month, by day, and those little days start adding up.
Yeah. Especially for me, like it's important to be able to do that, because you got to be able to visualize it. And I love working towards something. I love grinding. I love to know what's next. And sometimes when I don't, like, even nowadays, like, I'll get up and I'll write goals, personal goals that day.
Yeah.
I try to do 10 to 15 goals of things I need to do. At the end of the day, I don't always get them done. But you know what?
Sure.
Even if I knock off 8 of them, 5 of them, I'm like, damn, today was productive.
Yeah.
And it
It's
feels
kind of like your gratitude list almost.
yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
you just gotta grind for it, man. I feel like I have so much potential and so much to like give back. I want my legacy to be that I give back more than I take. And so I am just on a mission. I know how hard I could work. I know that I have proven and seen the results that hard work leads to results. It's not about, being the most talented. It's not about this. It's about if you grind and work your butt off, like you will get the results. So I'm all for that. And I'm all about, giving it my best effort and out grinding everybody. You don't have to be the best in the room. You just got to be willing to outwork the person next to you. And that's what I do.
That's a good mentality.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful story. I mean, this has only been a little over 3 years since you got out and became sober. So that's really awesome. And you see this crisis here in Oregon and especially in Portland. And when you're driving around and stuff, and you see what's going on in your mind, what do you think would be able to start turning the corner in terms of people on the streets, people using things like that? What do you ever, reflect back on that and say, maybe a couple of these items would work? And, what are your thoughts on the whole crisis going on?
I think if we had more, maybe not resources. I mean, obviously resources are always nice, but I know Portland has a lot of resources. You look at the data and the analytics, which I always study data and analytics for like music, and I'm all about it because I like to know ratios and maths and, but I know Portland has a lot of resources. I think, individual care, I think mental health would do a lot because like we talked about, that seems crazy, right? That like, I love being out there homeless, like, and I love doing this. And it's like, and that's not, I wouldn't consider, I know like mental health, like I'm sure I have mental health issues. A lot of people do. But I feel like there's so much worse out there. And I feel like if people got the proper care, the proper love, some people really have to be held their hand their entire way and shown a life and build that confidence up. A lot of times they'll just throw resources or throw this or like, oh yeah, so go up, show up here. Da, da, da. Like you got to hold these people's hands. Yes, it's extra work. And yes, people shouldn't have to do that, but that's what it's going to take for a lot of these people to get it done. And I think a lot of it is, what I want to do personally is I want to build music programs throughout the community. And I will. Just give me time. Like, give me 5 to 10 years, I promise. Let me continue working. But I plan on building music programs in the community. And I want to get back. And these programs could be for youth. These programs could be for adults. I'm talking like, putting this money in to have full studios. And I'd like to see it expand throughout other cities. So we're not the only city going through this. But people could come in and it's like they don't have to pay for studio time. There's resources, there's money into it. And when I make enough money, I'll invest my own money into it. But I want to build these studios for these people to be able to come in where they can record and set up sessions, and go there, and then on top of that, like, they have an engineer that will be paid around the clock to be able to mix it, to master it, to be able to have business classes and courses to show people like how to get like, merch pressed up. They could do community service for it or help to give back, whatever they want to do. And this will get them merch to be able to, sell and flip, help them get their own LLC. It only takes about $115 in Portland. Or in Oregon, it's not hard, and these are things that you can do to get your business legitimate. These are things that you can do and take to offer these classes, and it's like on top of that, like help them distribute their music. Music can save a lot of lives. And I think there's a lot of people that have dreams that want to be musicians or don't know what they want to do with life. But I think it could be a little cool thing that, if you offer, and it's something that's right up my alley that like, I would love to be able to offer this to the community. You don't know whose life you can save. Me and my lady, we started doing the Little Dreamer Foundation. We're in the process of making it official. But last year we gave back school. We did a La La challenge to one of our songs, and we gave back school clothes and backpacks to kids. We weren't able to do a crazy amount, but we did like 20 kids. And that was all paid out of our own pocket. We would do all that, and then on top of that, this last year we did. We went to raise money for the Little Dreamers, and what we did is we raised like $5,000. We do a show. And we raised like $5,000, and which is really cool because we used our platform to do it. But we were able to. So Little Dreamers is me and her thing. It comes from my song Dream Chaser. It's one of the first songs that I made, first videos I made when I first got clean in 2000, when I was like 23. And so it's Little Dreamers is basically kids that have a dream, kids that, the little ones. And it's about giving back to the community. And so what we're able to do is provide Christmas presents. Like we probably wrapped up about probably like 40, 50 presents for this kid whose mom or dad overdosed recently, and then we're another person and these are people that is crazy because these are people that I even knew from the community. Like I knew the kid's dad. These people were nominated, and we gave the responsibility to a team of people that said, "Hey, pick out these people," because I didn't want to be responsible. I knew most of the people that were getting nominated, and so what we did was that we had a bunch of families get picked. There was a guy who broke his neck and couldn't provide for his son, and was paralyzed. Basically, he's starting to get movement back in his legs. But we went and dropped off, $1,000 in gift cards for him. So that way he could provide and do cool things for his son, and so he didn't have to deal with that financial burden. It's the holidays. Like there was another girl that we came and dropped off, $500 worth of gift cards for a girl whose mom just overdosed. So like these are people that we're giving back to the community and taking to them that have suffered losses, whether it's through drugs or anything like that. And these are things that we want to do is give back. And that's why I said, just give me time. Like I promise, like I'm gonna help rebuild the community that I destroyed.
That's awesome.
And I'm all for it. I'm like I said, my legacy is I want it to be that I gave back more than I ever took. And so that's what we do is we like to give back. We like to help. We like to spread positivity. I wasn't always the nicest person. It took me a while to get here. I'm 31 now, but now a lot of my stuff is in check. You know what I'm saying? I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know what it feels like to sit on memories of me being not very nice. I know what it's like, and all that affects me to a point that it drives me to want to be better. A lot of times I recycle my pain. I use it to be, like my homelessness, foster homes, drug addiction. I reuse it. I use it as, motivation. And it's like just because your character defects does not have to be your shortcomings. And what that means is if I have 4 flat tires on my car, it doesn't mean I have to drive on them. Okay. And so it's like learning how to use that. Just because I have character defects doesn't mean that has to be my shortcoming. I can learn how to use it in a positive way. If I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling angry, put it in my music. If I went through some struggle, instead of sitting there and being sad about it, I'm going to put it in my music and teach. And so it's all about giving back.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool. Hey, Skyler, first of all, I appreciate your time and you coming on, but thank you for sharing your story and everything that you're doing within the community now. Yeah, you really provided a lot of insight. In terms of your whole mental state, in terms of growing up, going through homelessness, drug addiction, prison, foster care. You've been through the ringer and back, and for you to sit here, take responsibility for it all, and try to build a better foundation and give back like that. That's really awesome, and more power to you. So
thank you, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Skyler, again, I appreciate your time. It was really wonderful to meet you and chat with you and hear your story. And good luck on all your future endeavors.
It sounds like because
you got a lot, but I know you can do it.
Yep. Thank you. I'm motivated, man, and I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to be sharing this when you do broadcast it. If any of my people aren't here, make sure you go show some love. Make sure you guys share it as well. Drop some comments in the section. That way I can respond and it kicks up algorithms. Do your guys' part. I appreciate you. It's been an honor. It's been a privilege. And thank you for using your platform to put me on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for listening to the Henry Zunkel podcast. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. If you would like to learn more about a nonprofit, please go to henryzunkel.org. As we say here at Henry Zunkel, you are loved, never judged.